Hello, my name's Carl Smith. I'm a television reporter, and sometimes I come across stories that my newsroom won't touch because they're too strange, too far out there. But I like these stories. In fact, I seek them out with ads like this one right here. I place them in newspapers and online, and it's through an ad like this that I was contacted by an astronaut who believes he contacted aliens. Of course, my station wouldn't go near the story. That's why I'm bringing it to you here. By the way, my name Carl Smith. Let's call that an alias. And I'll be back in just a few moments with this bizarre alien encounter. It was through an ad like this that I got a call from Buzz Shepard. He claims to be a former test pilot who saw aliens, real aliens, more than 50 years ago. I had to come to visit him here at the rehab center and nursing home where he lives. The story he told is rich in history, but I found no official record of it. Again, Buzz says he was a former test pilot.
In the late 1940s, I was flying jets on and off carriers for the U.S. Navy. Hell, I flew the first XFD-A1 Phantom right off the deck of the old Roosevelt carrier. In 1946, they said that couldn't be done. But I did it. It was a great and exciting time, flying almost every day. Then, I got the call. I remember it like yesterday. I was stateside, and one of the chiefs came running in and said that Commander Harold Stassen was on the horn. I didn't know who the heck Harold Stassen was, but he sounded important. He later tried to run for president. Who would have known? Well, I took that call right away. Stassen said he was working on a secret government project, and my country needed me because of my experience flying jets off of carriers. Plus, I was curious about any secret project. The next day, I got a flight on a real nifty plane. A brand new RD-6. Destination, the Banana River Naval Air Station. I never heard of the Banana River. Anyway, it turned out that it is now on what is called Satellite Beach, Florida. It was a World War II bombing range, for God's sakes. Shortly after I got there, the base was transferred to the Air Force and became the Joint Range Proving Ground. All secret and very hush-hush. How was I to know that one day it would become the Cape Canaveral Launch Center that would eventually take us to the moon? Well, when I arrived and walked into the hangar, I was greeted by two very intimidating congregations. A bunch of German scientists and a swarm of humongous mosquitoes. I don't know which was worse. The locals, fishermen, people like that, used to kid that the mosquitoes were so aggressive that they would carry away small children while they played in the yard. The Germans were something else. They were real rocket scientists and very serious people. Zum Himmel mit Rockets! Those guys were really gung-ho on the subject of rockets. Rockets über alles! Well, I soon learned their plans for me. I didn't know it yet, but they were developing a rocket sled. That's why they wanted me. You see, to get planes to fly off carriers, we had to do all kinds of things. We'd hook the planes up to a steam-driven rocket and literally blasted them off the deck. You had to do things like that to get them up to flight speed quickly. On some of my last carrier test flights, we even mounted a rocket on the planes to give them that extra punch to get their weight up off the deck and into the air. The name of the game was flight speed. The Germans really loved this.
Interesting story, isn't it? I thought so. So I went to the Space Center to look for proof. Could these be the railroad tracks that Buzz described? Was any of this possible in 1952 with World War II German technology? Buzz Shepard has a lot more to tell us and show us when we come back.
But that was a mere toy compared to what we were doing. Well, I didn't know it yet, but I wasn't going to fly. In fact, after that day, I never flew again. You see, it takes a lot of energy to get into flight. You need mucho energy to counteract Earth's gravity. So their plan was to stay on the ground and travel on a railroad track. And they had this real slick rocket rail car. I mean really slick. There were those guys out at Edwards Air Force Base. They were working on their own rocket sled. But that was a mere toy compared to what we were doing. It floated, so to speak, on these pneumatic bladders. The chassis, along with the main suspension system, literally hydroplaned on multiple fluid dynamic pressurized oil sliding pads called slippers, while the secondary support wheels and axles rotated on precision machined titanium steel alloy tapered roller bearings equipped with electronic gap centers and a constant speed lubrication system. I mean, this rail car was quite heavy, but it moved so freely. You could literally, well, almost literally, push it along the track with your little finger. On the back of the car were 3 of the largest rocket engines I had ever seen. In front of that, the fuel tanks, extra large capacity, then the cockpit for me, just like a jet plane. And then, out front, streamlining the whole shebang, was this long, straight, pointed nose cone. Just like you see in a futuristic rocket ship in a Flash Rogers comic book. On top, a giant parachute system that went off automatically after 6 miles. They referred to this project as LSTX, the whole program. Right down to the last rivet was classified ultra top secret. So it was only ever listed as LSTX with a number. The numbers increased incrementally to accommodate each new refinement of previous models. I later learned that LSTX stood for Light Speed Train Experimental. They built a special railroad track for it. The track started in Cape Canaveral, went due west on a trestle over the Banana River. No ups or downs, no lefts or rights. Just 7 miles straight across the river. Their thinking being, if anything went wrong, well, the car would just go into the river and put itself out. And I was to fly this baby. What a machine.
Are you sure about the speed of light? I mean, we'd only reached the speed of sound in 1942. That was only 8 years earlier.
Yeah, but it was these very same Germans who first broke the sound barrier. In fact, one of the Germans, Karl Schulz, told me that some of the V2s he worked on got up to 4 times the speed of sound on terminal descent. I couldn't wait to pilot that ship, but for that, I had to wait almost another year. Then finally, in 1952, we were ready. In the meantime, they had destroyed any number of rocket rail cars in unmanned tests. But then the last one functioned properly, so early in the morning of April the 23rd, I got strapped into the car and was ready to launch. The countdown was relatively short. Less than 2 hours to complete fueling and the readiness checks. Then, 3, 2, 1, 0, varum! The first rocket engine lit off and the steam-charged piston thrust the train down the track. In a flash, the other 2 engines caught on. Oh, I mean instant acceleration. It felt like my eyeballs were going to pop out of my head. My skin was being pulled and ripped right off my bones. The engines were providing not only an immense forward motion, but a powerful downward force to keep me on the tracks. Then, when I regained my senses, I realized there was no noise. The cockpit was silent. All sound was behind me. Then pop! This great white light came over me. That's when I first saw the alien beings. I saw them as clearly as I see you right now. You know, they're all around us. You just don't see them.
When we return, Buzz tells me about the aliens he saw and reveals more details about this light-speed train.
I could see these aliens standing there next to me.
You're watching Encounters. We just heard Buzz Shepard explain how he was blasted to light speed in 1952. When that happened, he says everything slowed down into slow motion. That's when he says he saw the aliens.
Yes, it was like everything slowed down. And right there where I was, juxtaposed with all else in vibrant reality, I could see these aliens standing there next to me. Then boom, the chutes deployed, and the aliens were gone.
What happened next?
Well, I didn't stop, I can tell you that. Oh, the chutes slowed me down a bit, but I just kept on going. Blasted off the end of the track. Skidding and bouncing through the palmettos and scrub brush. I must have scared the wits out of whole families of alligators. Well, I just hung there in my harness until the rescue crew found me and cut me loose from the rubble. I was pretty messed up. Stayed in the hospital for quite a while. Broken legs, arms, crushed rib cage. concussion. Compressed vertebrae. While I was in the hospital, only one of the Germans, Heinrich Ritter Hauptmann, came to see me. He said we had reached the speed of light, and I was invisible. Just a flash of light for a fraction of a second. Then he told me the program had been canceled. Why? Who knows? Some political reason or another. You can always count on those yahoos in Washington to mystify the obvious. Well, I never saw Heinrich or any of the other Germans again. I never saw the aliens again either. But I know I saw them. They are there. They are all around us. We just don't see them because we are not traveling at their speed. I know. I was there. I saw them.
Is there anyone that can verify this story?
Hey, I told you I never saw any of them again. But I do have some blueprints.
Blueprints, as in plans?
Verraket Reelkar Dumkopf. Over there in my stuff. You'll find a tube.
The closet?
Yeah, just open the door there. Bring them over here. Come on, get them out. Get them out. Sat right there.
And where did you get these?
In a garage sale, many years later.
A garage sale?
Yeah, some guy died. They were selling out a whole estate of stuff. I recognized him right away. Hey, and I sat right there.
Can I borrow these?
Hey, you promised to bring them back.
Of course.
Okay. But bring them back.
I have somebody I want to look at these. What can you tell me about Buzz?
Oh, you mean Bill Shepard?
I thought it was Buzz.
That's what he calls himself.
What do you know about him?
Well, he's been in and out of nursing homes, rehab centers, and hospitals most of his life. You're the first visitor he's had.
So what do you think? Buzz Shepard or Bill Shepard? When we come back, I'll try and get some answers from our government archives.
He said he was afraid to build anything that would go this fast. Where'd you get these plans? I had heard rumors about a project like this, but I don't think that they ever built it. Now, I do know that we took something like this to Howard Hughes to build, and he said he was afraid to build anything that would go this fast. He screamed. He was at the top of his lungs. You guys are going to kill people, for God's sakes. But, you know, again, I don't think we ever built it.
What about these companies down here? Who are they?
Let's see. This company, I think, was started by Robert Goddard. And this one here is Skunk Works. But they're long gone now, even if they did exist. Actually, there are no records at the agency of anything at all like this. You know, come to think of it, we just declassified the world speed record for an unmanned rocket sled that we built 8 or 9 years ago. It could have been built based on prior projects like this one. Boy, you know, now that one hit like 9 times the speed of sound. It was flying like a bat out of hell. It covered 3 miles in just 6 seconds out there in New Mexico.
3 miles. What if that had been 7 miles?
7? I don't know how fast she would be going. If, of course, it didn't blow up first.
And you say unmanned?
Unmanned? Hell yes! Fighter plane pilots blasting off from carriers, they pull 8 or 9 Gs, Carl. This rocket sled, in its present form, would be pulling 150 Gs. That's 150 big ones. You would be destroyed. You would be crushed. No human's going to ever stand a force like that.
Since the government wasn't saying anything, I thought I'd bring the plans to an aeronautical research team that I know of to see if they thought there was anything to them.
Carl, as you can see here, what we've done is we've taken your plans and scanned them into the computer, used the computer to clean it up some, and then we compared it to the rocket technologies that existed in the 1950s. And our analysis is that this is consistent with the technologies and rocket designs of the 1950s.
Okay.
And then if you come over here, we had the computer make a rendering from those plans of what we thought the rocket train would have looked like. And
That's it.
That's it. Quite a hot rod.
Now, Buzz insists that he saw aliens in another dimension. But if that's true, why is there no record of it? Buzz tells these fanciful stories about test pilots that ejected at such high altitudes that their hands, feet, and legs blew up like balloons. But again, why is there no record of these test pilots ever existing? Could it be that this project, like the Navajo rocket right behind me, is a project that never really went anywhere? The Navajo went on to be known as the Never Go. Think about that for a few minutes, and I'll be back to tell you about our next encounter with the real, unreal, and beyond. Welcome back to Encounters. I want to reiterate a commitment we've made to you to keep placing these ads and telling you those bizarre stories that are so difficult to explain. Like the story of Tom Pretty. Next week you're going to meet him. He's a man who says he had a near-death experience with a giant wart gator. If you think you've had a bizarre experience we need to know about, please email me directly at carlsmith@encounterstv.com. And I look forward to seeing you next week for another encounter of the real, unreal, and beyond.